these are a couple of news headlines that came out the other day. One of them says, God have mercy on all of us. Robert Kiyosaki warned that the economy is the biggest bubble in history and urged investors to dump paper assets. Says the worst could be yet to come, according to Rich Dad and Poor Dad author. Hold on to your money, says Jeff Bezos, and say you may want to rethink, buying a new automobile, refrigerator, or whatever. Raoul Pal says AI could be the biggest bubble of all time. And there you see that it says AI will usher in a global deflationary shock, one of the largest the world has ever seen. Might be even bigger than the magnitude that than China joining the World Trade Organization, ushering an era of cheap imported goods for Americans. And then you have experts forecast that AI will replace many workers while lowering the cost of goods and services for consumers. Okay, so the prognostic, it doesn't look too great, out there. You may want to think about your expenditures, but above all, keep in mind that, a lot of these folks are talking about the upcoming crash of some kind. And you may not want to believe it, but I mean, here all the experts are pointing you in the same direction. So it's up to you. And the other issue that you might want to think about is how far away in time, all these events are supposed to happen. And here's another bit of news that I've been covering lately, and it's got to do with the yuan, the currency that China has. This bit of news came out of Barron's this week and says, since the early days of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it's been clear that the choice to weaponize the US dollar would have consequences. And by that they mean, consequences in reverse, like consequences for the US. Sanctions on Russia's access to US currency are paving the way for the ascent of the yuan, China's currency, as an alternative for clearance, settlement, and reserves, at least for countries willing to upset the US. This has been a gift from heaven for China's leader, Xi Jinping. Okay, and so, that's another thing that's going on in the world, whether the yuan will have the importance that the dollar has today out there. Well, we got to wait and see what happens with that. But remember, at one point in time, the dollar was not the world currency as it is today. And so things change. And if a lot of countries go with China because they believe the United States is weaponizing the dollar, well, that might change I'll call it the balance of influence in the world, okay? Balance of power, etc. Okay, here's an issue related to our species. Do you want to live, 500 years? Or do you want to live forever? I mean, would that be great? Well, I've discussed in the past that living forever is not a great deal. The one thing God envies in man is his mortality. But here, the note that came out in Scientific American says, what a body built to last 100 years would look like. We would look a lot different if evolution had designed the human body to work well for a century or more. Okay? It says the process of human evolution has resulted in bodies that are optimized for successful reproduction and child rearing, but are not necessarily designed for healthy, long lives. Medical problems associated with aging are often described as diseases that are our own fault. But it is unfair to blame people for inheriting bodies that were not designed for extended use. We can shorten our lives, but not prolong them indefinitely. And it says, if humans were built primarily for longevity and perpetual health, our anatomies and even our body's molecular processes would look very different than they currently do. The single-minded pursuit of life extension could actually be harmful to our species' long-term survival. So they have, the living forever or living for a long time has been one of the key goals of many individuals. People wonder why we have to die. And assuming we have to die, why can't we live, 200, 500, 1,000 years? And the question is whether we would want to. That's when I think it's a valid issue. Imagine living 500 years, so you live through many generations of humans. You would see many things happening. I don't know if you would tolerate those changes. I can barely tolerate some of the changes going on today, so I can't imagine living 500 years and seeing many, many more changes. And then the other issue is whether it is even possible. We're kind of like at the limit. Some people live over 100 years, in the world. Um, are we ever going to live 200 years? And my answer to that is no. I don't think we will. I don't think anybody would want to. At some point, I think you do want to die. And the question is whether the species should die as well. Should the species desire to die as a species? Should we live forever as a species? And the question you got to answer is what for? If you can answer that question, you get a cigar. Okay, here's a fellow, and he says the following. He says, there will be pockets of humanity around, even if every nuke were pushed. And so the question is, we discussed the possibility that they start pressing the buttons, red buttons, and all you need to do is press one of them, and I think it's over because everybody will just start pressing buttons just in case the other guy does. You want to do it first, right? And so you kind of have this, the first guy who shoots the bullets gets the first hit. He who hits first hits twice, so to speak. And so, yeah, I think that all we have to do is press one button. And, will we ever push that red button? If we do, if someone does for whatever reasons, I think we will shoot a lot of these nuclear weapons out there. A lot of them will just be used to, kill other weapons that are coming in our way, in our direction. That's one possibility. Another one is that a lot of them will probably be caught before they land, or explode. Maybe they'll be neutralized some way. Another possibility is that, you have all these killer satellites out there. You kill the satellite, then I don't know if you can guide the missile. So, yeah, I don't think that if we throw the nukes ever, that we will kill everyone on Earth. No way. But that's not the point. The point is, if we do, a lot of people will survive. But then the question is, under what conditions will they survive? Will they survive in a way that they can live forever or restart the race or whatever? Or will that be just the beginning of the end? And I will vote for the second option. I think that will be the beginning of the end. And again, it's because more than destroy people, it will destroy the global economy. Once you destroy the global economy, I don't think you can restart it back again. So the nukes may be part of that process of the global economic collapse. That's all I can tell you from my point of view. And if that ever happens, yeah, then I think we're scheduled for extinction. And if that ever happens, I think it'll happen before the year 2100. Okay, we're at 23? And so at most, I'd say we'd have 80 years to go. I don't even think we have that much. Can't tell you a date when it's going to happen. But the circumstances don't look very good when you have some of the experts, like I said at the beginning here, predicting, right? That things are going to get worse, that we're going to enter a period of deflation, including recession and depression, and possibly, what comes after depression? Well, it's not rebound, it's extinction.